7-8-1 and won the NFC South. Can you draw any parallels from that season to this season? I asked a former Panther player from that team. I'll let you know what he had to say right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday, your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching the show right here on YouTube and listening wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Panthers is sponsored by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use Locked On NFL. Get $50 in the lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. Really excited about this show today. I'm going to just give you some background. So I had a plan for the episode. You may see if you're watching on YouTube, where I was going to talk about the Panthers' biggest strength, weakness, and question heading into the playoffs this weekend versus the Rams. You can see behind that after me, Roman Harper on the 2014 Carolina Panthers. So I had called Rome on Monday afternoon because I was looking to get somebody's number to get this person on the show potentially later on this week. We'll see if that happens or not. But before that, we spoke for like 40 minutes about college, then we got into the Panthers and talked about that team back in 2014. And I kind of compared, I did compare this year's team to that version. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And we had the conversation, and I stopped. I'm like, hold on. We should record this. So we are doing that right now. I'm going to show you or play you my conversation with Roman Harper later on this evening after I talked to him in the afternoon. I had gone and recorded a segment before. I'm throwing that one out. I'm not going to change what the overlay looks like here on YouTube. So here's my conversation with former Panther safety Roman Harper about 2014 and about a bunch of other things that happened during his time in Carolina and looking ahead to this game this coming Saturday against the Rams. All right, excited for this conversation, as I'm always happy to talk to this man who, his name on the show right now, for those viewing on YouTube, is Romeo Gonzalez, but you'll recognize him as TV's Roman Harper, also former Carolina Panthers safety Roman Harper, but truly, I guess you're a Saint. Aren't you in the Saints, like, Hall of Honor now, Rome?
It's called a Hall of Fame. Saints
What?
Hall of Fame. I mean, yeah, I spent more years there. It's okay. Like, I've been fanatic.
I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm just making sure that I got that right. I want to get your credentials correct. So, Saints Hall of Famer Roman Harper, but still formerly a Panther who resides here in Charlotte. Not trying to know where you live, but obviously enjoying his time far more here in the Carolinas than down in Louisiana.
It's just easy to raise family. So, I was actually playing for New Orleans my last year in 2016 when I bought a place here in Charlotte. So, my wife and I decided we were going to be here, and it's worked out great. Like, I love this place. It's, I don't, love is a strong word. I really, really like here. It's convenient. My work is actually here, and I actually was living here before I got the job with ESPN SEC Network, and then the airport. Like, it's flights everywhere. It's a big hub for Americans. It works out great. But I'll be honest, I tell everybody, they ask me, like, how do you describe Charlotte? I'm like, man, it's like a really nice bowl of white rice, you know? Like, you need more to it. So I get to travel and do other things, but man, and I can get full off white rice. I just want more every other meal. It's okay. Like, I love it. That's why I still got a place in New Orleans. That's why I still go to Alabama. That's why I travel in for work. It's good, man. It's perfect.
I understand that, being someone from here who loves the city. I don't have an extreme like for the city, who loves the city. I hear what you're saying. You're not wrong. You got to get out of here every once in a while, and Lord knows I got to be transient every once in a while. But
I mean, you go to the mountains, you go to the beach. It's tons, like, right here. You can just
you just take mini vacations to other parts of North Carolina. That's why this state's the best. So the genesis of this conversation is I called you out of the blue today on Monday because I had something to ask you, but also I hadn't talked to you for a while. I think the last time I maybe ran into you was over at, like, was it Ace number 3 over in Myers Park right there on Providence Road?
watch out for that, man. I know there's protein in them burgers, but there's some other stuff going on too. You need to be careful.
I didn't say multiple times a week. You know what I mean?
You said frequent. I mean, frequent sounds like you going. I mean, frequent is frequent. Are you going over there a lot?
Hey, look, man. When you live in Myers Park, bro, you got to feed the beast. You got to be local. You got to be one with the people. So, yes. But yes, I like ace number 3, and that might have been the last time we saw each other. But let's tell the people what it really was. He was looking for somebody else's number. All right, and then trying to double check, and then I just started ranting because he brought up what he wanted to talk to that person about, and I was like, you know what? This is what it really mattered. And you're like, you know what, Roman? I should have you on my show. So here I am.
Yeah, and here we are. And look, for the folks out there, we talked for like 40 minutes.
It was 44 minutes, 27 seconds.
But I'm saying we talked like 40 minutes before I even asked you for something. So like we had a conversation. Don't act like I just called you and it's like, hey man, I need this. No, we were talking college ball for a while because some of you got your gig with the SEC Network. You were down there at the Sugar Bowl. I assume you're gonna be down. You're gonna be in Phoenix, right? For Ole Miss?
Yes.
Okay.
Leave in a couple days. Yes, I'll be down in Phoenix for the Fiesta Bowl. That'll be fun.
Well, safe travels stuff. But yeah, so I brought this up because look, Panthers, they won the division barely by the grace of the Falcons. You said they also should be thanking New Orleans because
no question. No question. I'll stop you right there. Yes, of course they should. First of all, the Panthers are in the playoffs. They won the division. Congratulations. But it's probably the worst limping into the playoffs that you could ever have. I know, like everything resets, and you get a home game, so you should be excited. The fans should be fired up because they haven't seen a playoff game since who knows when.
2015, last 15's last home time. So back when you were around, right?
Yeah, for sure. We kicked ass that year. So and that was the last home playoff game. 2017 they went, but they were on the road, right?
Yeah, down in New Orleans.
Yeah, okay. So yes. So it's been that long. So you should be excited about those things. But man, talking about limping in. And the thing is that they should definitely thank the Saints that they played terrible. All right, they fumbled on the first play. They got a punt block. They were actually lucky that the game was even close. But Tyler Shough really gave that team some juice. And New Orleans was the hottest team in the division up until the last week. Shout out to Atlanta, who never really does anything good for not a lot of people in the division ever. And they actually won the game, got Carolina into the playoffs, and then fired their coach like an hour and a half after that. So,
Raheem Morris died for the Panthers' sins.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where it was. And I just said this because, like, the real joy of winning the division, the way I say it, that it's kind of limping in and that it's kind of just whatever about it, is because, man, when you win the division, you get the hat, you get to take the picture on the opposite opposing team's field. Like, those memories are with you forever. I still have those memories saved into my phone. And the Panthers get their hats today in a team meeting preparing for some other team because they didn't win their game. And they had the last 3 weeks to kind of lock this thing up. I kind of give you a pass on the Seattle game. Like, it was misty. It looked like the game was actually played in Seattle, honestly. And they just didn't play well enough. And that's a really good Seattle team. That's number one in the NFC.
This is Tyler Rowland from the Locked On Titans podcast. This message is a paid partnership with Apple Card. I love
team meeting preparing for some other team because they didn't win their game. And they had the last 3 weeks to kind of lock this thing up. I kind of give you a pass on the Seattle game. Like, it was misty. It looked like the game was actually played in Seattle, honestly. And they just didn't play well enough. And that's a really good Seattle team. That's number one in the NFC. So you got to give credit when credit's due. But ultimately, you are here now. So what do you do with this opportunity? And I know you're going to mention 2014, so I'm not going to steal your thunder.
Yeah, let's look. Hey, Nick Scott said after the game on Saturday when they lost, a hat and a T-shirt, I'm going to take that anywhere I can get. Now, look, the Saints already got a Super Bowl. Like, I understand. I don't care how we did. Man, look, let's be honest. Like, did they deserve, after the way things ended, to, like, get in? I mean, maybe not, but, like, what does deserve have to do about it? But, like, look, they got their T-shirt, and they had to walk into the locker room today, and they got the hat was sitting there, T-shirt was there, so they got them. They can take them home. They get something to
Give them away.
celebrate with.
Do what you want to do. Yeah.
But whatever. But yeah, they didn't get the celebration, they didn't get the party, and they honestly, they didn't get deserved the party, but they earned their way into the playoffs. And that's brought back parallels to 11 years ago when y'all, back in 2014, were sitting at 3-8-1, looking like a whole bunch of trash. And then you turn it around, won 7 straight games. I know one of them games is like when Luke knocked out Johnny Manziel, and then people lost their damn minds. And man on the street interview being like, Derek Anderson, that's got to be our guy, which was nonsense after Cam got in that car wreck, but Cam came back. Y'all got that win against Ryan Lindley-led Arizona. And you gave Seattle all they could handle. Cam Chancellor was like, not today. I'm not losing to these dudes. So there's been parallels to like, okay, last time the Panthers were winning the division, losing record was 2014. I said that, and your response was
immediately, hell no. Like, don't compare us to that. We didn't limp in, all right? All right, we started out 2 or 3-0, whatever that was, all right? And we won our way into the playoffs. We got really hot at the end of the season. We won our last 4 or 5 games, kind of went on that run while the Saints and I believe the Falcons kind of plummeted down the stretch of that season when we were like, Julian, that was the longest losing streak I'd ever had in my life. We went 2 whole months without winning a game, 9 weeks, including the bye week. I was angry every single day. And so that was not a great team. But man, we won at the right time. And ultimately, they always say November and December is when playoff teams are made. And we are a great example of that because we did win before that. And I tell you this, the thing that I thought was different, because you were like, oh, it was this player, maybe that player, and we're not going to put names out there, but I will say the biggest difference that happened was McDermott and this team was just like, you know what, we're not winning, let's just go young, bump it. So we put Nathan Wickery in that corner, all right? Because early in the year we had Melvin White, Antoine Cason, who they brought in. We had Godfrey playing some nickel, and then we had Thomas Daku at the other safety, and then me.
Yeah.
So, like, that was the secondary. And we were okay at best, not great. Then all of a sudden we put in Josh Norman before he became Batman Dark Knight Josh Norman, all right? Then we had Nathan Wickery at another corner, and then we ultimately put in Trey Boston at other safety. I was literally the vet out there, and I was just lining people up. I literally told Trey where to go every time before we broke the huddle. All right, Trey, go to your right. Trey, go over there. Then I would tell Benet what to do, and or maybe Josh, whoever's on my side. And it was just like we just pieced it together. The defense started playing better, and then ultimately we all came to the precipice of it all was when we got to go to Atlanta, went on the road in Atlanta, and clinch the playoffs, get to take those pictures like I talked about.
Yeah.
By winning the division, I told Benet to do something he was not even supposed to do. It worked out, covered Roddy White. I get an interception, House called it. And then next you know, later on in the game, Trey gets an interception, House calls it. And it was just like, man, we were a team that was just playing fast. And I told you this earlier. I said, man, sometimes being young and dumb is not a bad thing because you don't know any better. And ignorance is bliss. And so I was around the secondary of a lot of young players, probably the youngest secondary I'd ever been a part of, where I wasn't the youngest guy. And it was fun because guys were just playing. Like, they didn't know. I know that's Julio Jones, but, like, I ain't guarded him before. He beat me.
What does it matter?
So, like, yeah, like, he beat me before. So it was like guys were just out there playing. And ultimately, we got hot at the right time. We beat Arizona. Like, I think that was like I think we kind of set a record at the time for like the least amount of yards given up in the game. So that was, but they had the backup quarterback, Lindley.
Yeah.
He was terrible. But that's not my fault. That wasn't my fault.
He's bad.
You know what I mean? That's not my fault. Like, nobody's complaining when who was playing the Pacers in the finals last year? OKC, when their point guard
Halliburton went out.
Yeah, Halliburton, you don't feel bad for that, it's part of the game. And ultimately, man, we got ourselves into the playoffs, and it wasn't because of the amount of wins we had, but it's because we had a tie. Like, the tie is what got us in. We
and I stay on top of it. My energy, focus, and with Prize Picks,
it was
Okay, confession time. I was doing this creator thing completely wrong for years. I kept building content everywhere except the
bad. It was really bad. And I mean, we were so beat up and we had a Super Bowl hangover. We thought we'd just roll in there and just do what we did to them last time. And hopefully the Panthers don't have that same mentality.
Oh yeah, that's what I want to.
They
That's
beat
what I
this
ask you.
Rams team. Yeah.
Yeah, because like, because I compare like I asked you about 14 to this year, where all right, they limped in. Y'all really were on the up and up and like going in hot, but you were still a team that was 7-8-1. And a lot of people in the league, Ryan Lindley starting to side, were probably like, I mean, all right, is Carolina really going to do something? And but then you were on the other side of it, a team that was coming off a Super Bowl, right? Then you go on the road, play 7-9 team, kind of like juxtapose those mentalities from like a team that's like, all right, people don't think we're supposed to be here, to a team's like, man, like we should take care of these dudes.
You know, first of all, shout out for you for using that word juxtapose correctly. I've used it in not incorrect form, so like know that you can't.
Alabama education there, y'all.
And
roll damn tide.
Roll damn tide. Roll tide. You know, we don't get pissed about nothing but the tide. All right, so, but I will say that like you still have to lock in and go win the game because you don't get to carry over your successes or your awards from the regular season. Like everything starts all over even again. And so going out to Seattle, where we had just beat that team, like literally by like 20 something, almost 30 points. A couple weeks before that, we were like, bro, we're gonna go out here, we're gonna smack them, and then we're gonna keep rolling, we're gonna go back to the Super Bowl. And then we get out there and we run into a hornet's nest after having some early success. Then boom, 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 they jump on us, we come back, and then all of a sudden beast mode happens. And like you look up and we lost that game, and you're just shocked. And so Carolina has to continue to lock in. They got to think that they're still the underdog, which they may be. I don't even know.
13.5 points at home.
13.5?
Yes.
Wow. So that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, why'd you tell me that? Why'd you tell me?
You asked they're underdogs. I told you the truth.
So, you know, I would say that, man, you still got to lock in because I think Devontae Adams is going to be back. You know, Puka Nacua, which you did a great job of slowing down in the first matchup. Like, you did all these good things, and right now Carolina's a team that really has just not completely learned how to win. And sometimes you got to go through the lows to get to the high. And hopefully the lows have kind of happened because you don't know when that high is going to happen. Like you just don't know. And it's the same thing that my coach would always say. His name was Joe Vitt, a linebackers coach in New Orleans. He'd always talk about like, guys, you're in the good old days. Like you don't know them when you're living it until you're like done because you don't ever appreciate it. You know, 2015, nobody actually thought like, man, this is the good old days. Like, man, this is like, you better hold on to it and cherish it because it's so hard to win in this league and injuries happen and the team's never the same from year to year. You lose 60% of the team every year. So it's like, you just don't know when your opportunity is here for you. And so whatever it is, you got to lock in. Like we're here. Like, I know we didn't get the best looking date to the prom, but bro, we got a chance. And you don't know what that little corsage will get you. You know what I mean? It may get you a kiss. It may get you a hug. It may get you two more best friends. You know what I mean? Your homies over there. So like, you just don't know what that date will get you, and you got to take advantage of it. Ultimately, you got a home game. The crowd should be good, and hopefully the weather's nicer too. And man, just go out there, get you a couple turnovers. You just don't know what can happen. Ultimately, you already pulled off a big upset when you beat them one time. You also pulled off a big upset on the road versus Green Bay. It's the teams that like that everybody thinks the Panthers are going to win.
Salute everybody in the building, man. It's Ice, man. You back for another live, man. We on that motherfucking K. We on that K, baby. That's all I'm gonna say. We on that K.
Who is this? Let me get you out on this. Because let me ask you about your boy. Well, I guess I don't know. He's same school as you, Bryce Young.
He is my boy. I mean, when they
do you have a relationship with him at all?
No, a little bit. Like we
other than being a fan with me in that fraternity of football.
Yeah, you know, look, man, I got 4 kids in a life. You know what I mean? hard when your best player on the outside is a rookie wide receiver that didn't play at a big school, that's still learning how to be a pro on a day-to-day basis. You know, like that's his best weapon. You know, his tight ends are, you know, you know what I mean? Like
they're not there. They're not there.
Yeah, like it's like who's the difference maker that like you can give the ball to? So that's why they had to lean on the run so much. You know, the pass blocking is not always perfect. They're better run blockers than pass blockers. And when you signed the contract of drafting this quarterback, the first thing that you said was, "We got to protect him. If we don't protect him, he's going to look very average, just like every other quarterback is." And he doesn't have like this Matt Stafford type arm strength. He doesn't have the size of Cam Newton. He's not like, you know, he's just middle of the road in a lot of these categories. But up here is where he's special. He's cerebral. And so you got to be able to continue to show him the pictures. And he also has to gain confidence. Look, when the Panthers, I had actually kind of like gotten off the Panthers bandwagon for a little bit, and then they drafted Bryce Young. And I feel like they just fought
They pulled on the heartstrings, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they
hey, we
did.
gotta get Roman back in here.
They fought me off, and so I'm back. I totally root for the Panthers every week. And when they play the Saints, I just root for the players that I love and I know. So, you know,
We know you're rooting for New Orleans. Don't lie. Don't lie.
dude, I'm not. I'm being honest. I literally just root for the players.
Okay.
I don't care for that, man. Like that because they neither one of them cutting the check for me no more. You know. But they both let me in the building, so like I'm cool. You know, like
I'm about to send this tape to Gail Benson. He's gonna take you out the Hall of Fame.
it's all right. I still got Mickey Loomis though. That's my dog, so it's still good. I'm good. And he's happy right now because Oregon's in the playoffs still, and he's talking trash because they're further along than Alabama. So Mickey's in a happy place.
Well, we'll see how that works out. But always great to talk to you. Twice in one day. It's been too long. I'll have to bother you again sometime here soon. Not to come on the show, but maybe we just gotta get up. And see each other here.
Let's go get a beer. You like? I know you do. I like
it. I like it. I'm trying to do that thing where I don't drink again to start the year. We'll see how long that lasts. I went like 90 days last year.
Why?
I just, trying to be healthy.
It's way other ways to do that. Like you don't have to punish yourself.
I know. It was actually enlightening. I felt pretty good, and then as soon as I started drinking again, I was like, oh, maybe I should do this.
Like, why was I doing it?
It's the volume. I think it's more the volume, and I'm not saying I'm a drunk, guys, but it's just like like have a good time. But we'll get up soon. But appreciate you as always, Romeo Gonzalez. What is he? Your Heart 41 on Twitter. Check out all he does there on the SEC Network. He'll be bloviating about the Ole Miss Rebels and the Miami Hurricanes on Thursday. I mean, come on.
It is Thursday.
I hate these Thursday games. Stop being
First jizzle.
go against the NFL. Put the
We
game
live, baby.
on Saturdays in December. Bro, like we want to watch a Week 15 game between the Broncos and the Raiders instead of watching a quarterfinal game like in December 20th.
I'm kind of with you on that, but man, dude, I'm telling you, the NFL is like, man, what's the dark side?
Locked in.
Like, bro, they are
just the dark side.
Yeah, bro, they are like, yeah, you know, like
like the Sith Lord, I guess.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Like wherever they go, they just take it over. Trust me, like, man, I work with I do my podcast and the players Tech and X podcast, and like, dude, the NFL is just never changing, dude.
Locked in with Julian Cancel.
It just moves and it goes, and nobody wants any smoke with it.
Yet I still look for the sun. Peace, peace, peace. The road is straight, but my steps are in circles. Peace, peace, peace. Believe and doubt can share the same heart, my brother. Peace, peace, peace. The moon is full, yet I still look for the sun. Peace, peace, peace. The road is straight, but my steps are in circles. Peace, peace, peace. Believe and doubt can share the same heart, my brother. Peace, peace, peace. The moon is full, yet I still look for the sun. Peace, peace, peace. The road is straight, but my steps are in circles. Peace, peace, peace. Believe and doubt can share the same heart, my brother. Peace, peace, peace. The moon is full, yet I still look for the sun. Peace, peace, peace. The road is straight, but my steps are in circles. Peace, peace, peace. Believe and doubt can share the same heart, my brother. Peace, peace, peace. The moon is full, yet I still look for the sun. Peace, peace, peace. The road is straight, but my steps are in circles. Peace, peace, peace. Believe and doubt can share the same heart, my brother. Peace, peace, peace. The moon is full, yet I still look for the sun. Peace, peace, peace. The road is straight, but my steps are in circles.
The NFL announced today the officials for the Carolina Panthers versus the LA Rams in that wild card matchup. And the head referee is going to be Clete Blakeman. Thank God it's not Brad Allen. He will actually be refereeing the Jags versus the Bills. Now, Clete Blakeman, I mean, some Panthers fans might have some PTSD from Super Bowl 50. And by the way, Contry caught that ball, by the way. But he throws a lot of flags, ladies and gentlemen. He averages around 15 penalties a game and around
This is who I do it for.
Crispy, airy, lightly charred at home. Magic. It's not delivered. It's DiGiorno.
Baker, you guys found a way here. Final week of the season, terrible conditions. What it take to get this one done?
Start fast. I think the defense did an incredible job all game. They got a touchdown early off my interception, so it just found a way to win right there. And a tough divisional opponent, and we did everything we could today. Sit back and see what happens tomorrow.
Your escapability, all the things you were doing out of the pocket, just finding a way to win. What was the conversations on the sideline there as you guys just kept on getting first down to first down, using your legs?
Just stay in it, one play at a time. Some of these plays aren't going to be pretty. We're going to make it work. Linemen stay blocking, stay around the line of scrimmage. Guys, keep getting open in the scramble drill and see what happens.
You have been on record saying you are not a New Orleans Saints fan.
I am tomorrow.
Will you be watching, and where will you be watching, and will you be doing those Saints chants?
From the comfortability of my own couch.
Baker, great game today.
Appreciate you.
You go into court and you think the case has to do with the facts. Facts are on the moon. Anyone who's actually going into court and they testify, meaning that you go in there and you start talking and you running off at the mouth and you're talking about the facts, you're arguing the facts, you're disputing the facts. I can tell you, you're doomed. You're doomed. Why? Because you're going dishonor, you're going through torture. All courts operate in trust law based on ecclesiastical canon law, right? Virtualism. So superstition, Satanism, and so on and so forth.
Let's go, man.
You go into court and you think the case has to do with the facts. Facts are on the moon. Anyone who's actually going into court and they testify, meaning that you go in there and you start talking and you running off at the mouth and you're talking about the facts, you're arguing the facts, you're disputing the facts. I can tell you, you're doomed. You're doomed. Why? Because you're going dishonor. You're going through door 2. All courts operate in trust law based on ecclesiastical canon law. Right? Virtualism, superstition, Satanism, and so on and so forth, which actually manifests insidious commercial law. And we're actually in court thinking that, well, if I argue the facts, if I dispute the facts, then I'll be all right. I'll be all right. But we're actually in the court and we take the hit. Because if they could just get us to do as they say, then they'll always win. And if they could get us to do as they say, in order to get us to do everything that they say, they would try to use every trick in the book. They would use intimidation, which generally works on most people because you're totally doing it. The majority of you, they capitalize on your fear, right? The bailiff is in there. He has a weapon on his side. He has a gun. They use fear tactics.
Welcome, everyone, to NBA basketball on 2K Sports. Joined by Grant Hill and Tim Legler, this is Brian Anderson, and we'll have Ale LaForce reporting for us. Here we go. So the Clippers win the tip. Now here's Harden. Pass to Zubac. Leonard for 3. It's hauled in by New Orleans. Here's Spears. Here's Queen. Here's Spears. Defended by Harden. Now here's Jones. Down to 5 on the shot clock. Driving to the basket. A nice shot by Spears.
Saw a lane and took advantage. Spears is an excellent driver.
Outside Harden. Stolen. And it's the Pelicans on the break. And stolen by Leonard. Oh, and the fast break for the Clippers. Back to Harden. And the officials will call the illegal screen here.
You can get away with one once in a while, but it looked like he wasn't completely set on that pick.
Well, oftentimes illegal screens fall into a gray area, but that time he got called for it.
Now here's Williamson. And the whistle blows. It's going to be on Zion Williamson. That's his first foul of the game.
And just a great job of getting there first and absorbing the contact.
Here's Harden. Lets it go. That shot is off. And in the first, a little over a minute and a half in. Jones misses. And here's Harden. And it's Queen with a rebound. Pass to Williamson. Here's Spears. He's in his comfort zone. 2 for 2 to start this one.
Yeah, fantastic work inside by Spears. He loves trying his luck down there.
Collins outside. Here's Zubac. And it's slammed in by Zubac.
And this is something he does all too well. Great position for the putback there.
And I like how he doesn't think twice about passing it out.
The name of that fictional entity instead of the living flesh and blood man, a womb man. So the only thing that they can interact with.
Just going right for the slam.
Well, defensively,
Hello.
you've got to put a body on him. That guy will ruin you on the offensive glass.
New Orleans shooting their first foul shot of the game. That's good from Williamson.
Yeah, the physical abilities of Zion are truly next level. His build, his strength, I mean, it makes him difficult to defend and totally unique.
And New Orleans making a change here. Just over 2.5 minutes played here in the first. Collins a screen. Throws it up high. Oh, they get a hand on it. Back to Harden. Dunn outside. Leonard for three. It's hauled in by New Orleans. A minute 53 left to play in the first. Pass to Queen. And the layup is good.
The defensive effort was lacking a bit, but hey, give them credit for finding a weakness there.
Well, with that kind of success, I imagine they'll continue to be aggressive inside.
And the shot goes down.
Yeah, getting it done inside. Harden proves he's more than just a perimeter player.
There's a minute 17 left in the first. And out of bounds. Los Angeles will have it.
Substitution for your Jordan Bulls.
Clippers trail by 5. Three-pointer, Harden. Counted from distance. Harden's got 5.
He's never shy to let it go from three-point range. Harden wants to make the D's job as tough as possible.
Queen misses. So it's Los Angeles now. Dunn outside. Picked it. And now New Orleans on the break. Dunks it hard with one hand. Wow, he makes it look easy.
Oh, that's impactful defense right there. Finding a steal and instantly turning it into offense.
5-second differential between the shot clock and game clock. Bay inside. And the dunk by Bay.
Yeah, flashing that athleticism. Bay really packs a punch on these dunks.
Here's Leonard. And the Clippers miss again. Bay outside. And we've reached the end of the first quarter. Pelicans ahead. They're up by 6. And the second quarter about to get started. We'll be back in a moment. And thanks again for tuning in. If you're just joining us, we've played through 1 quarter of action so far. All right, guys, some stats here. The scoring breakdown for the Pelicans.
Well, guys, early on, they're driving the lane constantly, using their quickness to gain an advantage. Look at their points off penetration.
And play stops. A whistle there on what looks like an illegal screen.
The screener was leaning a bit right there. His feet may not have been planted. Pretty obvious call by the officials.
Also, the ball handler needs to wait until the screener's feet are set.
The Pelicans lead by 6. Down low. Here's Misi. Batum with the defensive effort. Washington right side. And he banks in the layup.
And Washington can hurt you at close range. Nice touch on the point-blank shot.
So timeout called here. The first for New Orleans.
up to argue. And many of you come on this platform and you want to argue. Have I not told you that I'm a creditor? Creditors don't argue. I do not engage in the art of polemics because the very moment that you start to argue, you don't stop there, which is door 2, by the way. You go in dishonor, you get engaged in arguments. To argue is okay because arguing, look it up in Latin, it means to make clear. But
to make clear. When you get into an argument, you go into dishonor.
Facts, they say, and the laws what matters. I can tell you the facts are on the move. And if you, for a case in point, you ran a red light. Who cares? If you were speeding, so the hell what? No one else was out there, you didn't injure anyone. Does that have anything to do with the case Khan tells it up? I contend that it doesn't. It's deception. The facts are on the moon. Anyone who's actually went into court and you testify, meaning you get in there and you start talking, you start running off at the mouth, George Abbott, talk of intent, arguing the facts of the case. You do go to dishonor. Law courts operate again under trust law based on our ecclesiastical, the Roman canon law, virtualism, superstition, Satanism, and so on and so forth. What actually is insidious in most schools, and we're actually in court, we take the hints. So if they get you in there, as they often do, they trick you, right? Or they use intimidation. Generally, intimidation works on the vast majority of you because of fear. They're doing it. You see the bailiff with his weapon on, they use fear tactics. They use threats. They will ridicule you. They will use rage. The road may even call a recess in order to change the jurisdiction. And then when they actually know that they're losing, and they will order you to admit to the name of the trust. And so what we do, we're deemed to be the trustee, the one liable for administering the trust. So until now, it's actually been a waste of our time and energy and emotions to go to a place where it's almost certain that we'll actually be stuck with the liability in a public venue referred to as court. But education is enlightenment. But it's only the application of the education that's power. Right? Knowledge is not power. It's the application of that knowledge. The repetition is the father of learning. So I urge you to watch this video several times, 10. I urge you to watch this again and again. I recommend watching it a minimum of at least 5, but preferably 10 times. Now, we all know that the indoctrination and programming in schools, the judges are actually impartial and actually have sworn an oath to that particular fact. They just want you to admit to being the name. They have an oath to the Constitution, and they have an oath to the state. So this means that he must favor either the plaintiff or the defendant. He's supposed to be just the referee. But our experience reveals that he does indeed favor the plaintiff, indicating a gloom conflict of interest. Do you understand? So the prosecutor, the prosecutor, the judge, and the clerk, they all work for the state. Hear me well. I need you to really listen. I'm about to tell you something that you've never heard before unless you watch one of Khan Tells the Ducks videos. The judge, the prosecutor, and the clerk all works for the state, which is obvious, right? So the state is the owner of the sophisticated trust. So the case is not about justice. Even though you see the justice is supposed to be blind, see the lady with her eyes covered. The case isn't about justice. How many of you really think that you've really gotten justice in most of these cases? If you think it is, then for entertainment and educational purposes, I suggest that you wake up. So it must be about the administrative trust, since it's not about justice. They all represent the trust owned by the state. And we are the beneficiaries. The only two positions that are left is the trustee and the executor. Now, if you detect that the judge is partial, the partiality, the all go, I doubt the case would actually get this far. I just want to let them know that you know this. Please understand. If you consider court for entertainment purposes, and if you actually stand there and you can withstand the evil that emanates from the offices of the court, the fear-mongering, the arrogance at sea, oozing from the walls of this treacherous atmosphere, but most people go in and are terrified. It's not by accident. Knowing that under that trust law, we cannot be trustee for entertainment purposes, or the executor of the trust while being the beneficiary, because that would be actually a conflict of interest. So the position of the beneficiary may lack clout, but the other positions hold liability. Since the state employees want to be beneficiary of the trust, the only way that we could actually do so is to transfer. So transfer the liability which they hold as trustee and executor, so that they cannot be both administrator and the beneficiary of the trust. So the trusteeship and the executorship, example, is the surety. It becomes a hot potato, and everyone wants to toss it so he could be beneficiary of the credit from the trust. Do you follow me? So when we're born, let me give you a little insight on this. When we're born, a trust, or the system in trust, why that was not speaking first with an extraordinary, it was set up for our benefit, allegedly. So evidence of this is the birth certificate bond. Some of you may think that, oh wow, here we go, this is the sovereign. I encourage you to go and check it out for yourself. I don't want you to believe me. I'm not here to encourage you to believe me, but I dare you to go and check it out for yourself. Matter of fact, prove me wrong. Some of you are partial. You think you know, but you have no idea. But where's the value? Actually, the value which is conveyed to the trust in order to create. So our right to property via both into the world and our body via the live record of birth. That's what gives the trust value. Our birth into the world, and then our body, our soul via the spirit of via Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. So since the state of the providence was actually registered the trust, is the owner, they own the book, right? It's also trustee. Do you understand? Do you follow me? So the one that administered the trust is the trustee. So since they also wanted to be beneficiary of the trust, if they had, if they left it up to us, they would easily figure out ways to get beneficiary, and as they always do. So they get beneficiary of the trust. So they leave it up to us to, just ignorantly authorize these changes in the trust. So allegedly, from our benefit, via our signature on a document with citations or applications and so on and so forth. So then the temporary transfer of trusteeship to us during this brief time when they went to beneficiary of a particular constructed trust. I know this is complicated for a lot of people to understand, which is why I'm suggesting that you listen to this several times. So this means that a trust can actually be established anywhere. Anytime the parties of a trust are quickly, albeit temporarily, put into place, since the beneficiary cannot change a trust, right? Only the trustee could do this, which is a state that actually changes the trust. But they do so for the benefit of them and not for us. Now, albeit occasionally, we do reap some benefits from the change, but nowhere near the value that they reap. Now, I want you to think of this as a bank loan, right? We reap a minute percentage of what they gain from our authorization. So the only way under the trust law for them to be able to change the trust is to get authorization from us, who's the beneficiaries. Do you understand? And the only way for them to benefit from that change is to get us to switch roles with them from a beneficiary to a trustee. The one who's responsible for the accounting for them would switch their roles from trustee to beneficiary, because no party can do both at the same time. I really need you to understand that. I want to make that abundantly clear. An example would be the same constructed trust, right? So most of them somehow trick us into accepting the role as trustee. Why would they do this, Kahan Dalada? When the trust was for our benefit. And how do you know they managed to do this, Kahan Dalada? Well, that's the question, right? That's the question.
Love you.
But it's just a question. The best way to get us into court and to trick us into unwittingly doing this is by them inviting us to court, right? Citation, whatever, debts, whatever. But if we knew what had actually transpired prior to being in court, it would be easy to know what to say and know what to do when this happens. So the clerk of the court, that's what I'm trying to facilitate to you right now. The clerk of the court, or the court clerk, is in the hot seat. Even though it appears as it's the robe that you call the judge, right? It's the clerk of the court, the court clerk. The clerk is trustee of the Sister K Trust owned by the state or the Providence. Or it is he or she who's actually responsible for appointing the trustee and the executor for the constructed trust in that particular court case. Do you understand? Do you understand? He or she actually appoints the robe as trustee, the one who's actually administering the trust, and appoints the prosecutor, the prosecutor. The prosecutor is there to prosecute. And if you go in representing yourself, they say you go in pro se. You're going in as a pro se shooter. You're going as a prosecutor, which means you're supposed to know the law. Are you going pro se? No. I'm here in propria persona. So a prosecutor, as the executor of the trust, he is the executor, ultimately is liable for the charges because it was he or she who brought the case into the court, right? You understand? Follow me? They created the constructed trust on the behalf of the state or the private debts, which actually charged the Sister K Trust as an executor or prosecutor can initiate or create a constructed trust. So we should all know, maxim of the law, whoever creates the controversy actually holds the liability. And whoever holds the liability must provide remedy. So this is why the briefcase, or as you say, the attorney or the lawyer, they're mandated to bring in their checkbook or some form of payment to the court, because if anything goes wrong, if it all goes wrong for them, then the briefcase, and they failed to transfer the liability over to you, the debtor, onto the alleged defendant, if you want to call him that, I heard that, then the defendant, or if the defendant does not accept the liability by screwing up, then someone has to credit the trust account in order to settle off the debt. And since the prosecutor is the one who issues the bogus paperwork, the charge that brought it to court, right, that charges the trust, then the prosecutor, the prosecutor, the briefcase, the executor is actually on the hot seat. I want you to listen well. I'm not going to be much longer. Now, when the name of the trust is called, for instance, the trust might be Iceup84, right? That's the trust. So when the name of the trust is called, the judge, or as you say, or as Khan Iceup84 say, the robe or the black robe, aka who's actually the administrator of the trust, remember? Or better yet, he's the trustee. We should stand for educational purposes only and ask the question, right? Because he's not just asking, is asking. We should stand and ask the question, are you saying that the trust which you are now administering is Iceup84's trust? Why should we ask this question? Because this actually establishes that we know that the name is a trust. This is why they're so hard pressed to get you to admit to being the name. It's not the live man or womb man. So what's the judge's first question usually, or the magistrate's first question that they ask? What's their first question? What's your name? Where do you live? What's your address? Right? Or the state, or he may say, state your name for the record. See, we must be very careful not to identify the name of the trust, because in doing so, it makes us trustee. So what does that tell us about the black robe? If you know that the robe is the trustee, then we also know that the robe, the judge's name, he's the name. But only for a particular constructed trust. Do you understand it? Did that just go over your head? Now think about all the times that the black robe actually became so frustrated because of your refusal to actually go into these courts and give a name, because you tried to stand on your square and you wouldn't admit to being the name. What do they do? Well, tells him, this Iceup84 is not here. We're going to issue a warrant for his arrest. Then as soon as one of you left the court, you were arrested. How idiotic is that? They must feel foolish saying Iceup84 is not in court. I'm issuing a warrant for his arrest. And some of you, you've told me this firsthand, that as soon as you walked out, you was arrested. The man who they just admitted wasn't Khan Iceup84 was arrested because they just admitted that he's there when they arrested him. This is desperation, folks. It makes them seem somewhat insane. In a sense, it's me, and in a sense, it's many of you. So they must get you to admit to being the name, or they must pay. And we must accept their coercion, or we pay. Because the black robe is the trustee of a precarious position. So the best thing to say in this case, for educational purposes only, Iceup84 is indeed in the court today, and point to the black robe. Iceup84 is in court today. Point to the black robe. He's in the black robe right there. Iceup84 is in court. Do you understand? He's the trust. Aren't you trustee? Play one over your head also. But this is why I'm encouraging you to listen to this video several times, but I prefer 10 times. Now, during this frustration of you not admitting to being the name of the trust, the trustee and the executor of the trust, we ought to be asking, who are they? Who are you? So before we go any further, brothers and sisters, when you're in court, you ask questions, again, because he that is asking is asking. Don't make statements. Don't make statements. If you make statements, you have to prove it. Khan Iceup84 addressed the clerk to the trust of this Sister K trust owned by the state. Are you the owner of this Sister K trust, who actually appointed the judge, administrator, and trustee of this constructed trust, case number 678-910? Did you also appoint the prosecutor as executor of this constructed trust? I'm asking questions. So as long as I'm asking questions, I can't get in trouble, right? I'm not making any statements. What can they accuse me of? I'm simply asking. He that is asking is asking. Then point to the black robe, so you're the trustee. Then point to the prosecutor, so you're the executor. Then I'm the beneficiary. It's just a question. You don't have to be fearful. The one that is asking The king is sovereign. The king is the national. The king is in charge. Genesis 1:26. Read it for yourself. So the Most High gave Adam dominion over the entire earth. So in your capacity as a man, that's the strongest capacity you could ever go in as a man. You own the court. Man created everything and gave everything names that still stand strong. But you don't know how to stand as a man. So you go in punked out, weak, fearful. Excuse my language, folks. But seriously, folks, I'm the beneficiary. So now we know who is who. Who's the beneficiary? As the beneficiary, I authorize you to do the accounting and to absorb this constructed trust. I now claim my body. So I'm collapsing the trust. I'm collapsing the Sister K trust, which you have changed. There's no value in it. So you've actually committed fraud against the laws. Now, more than likely, the case won't get this far before the black robe will order the case dismissed. Or even likely, the public defender, the executor of the trust, the briefcase, whatever you want to refer to him as, who's clinging tightly to his debit card, a checkbook, or whatever he may have, he will call a withdrawal of the charges. This is just for educational purposes only. I'm not teaching you anything. I'm facilitating didactic information that you could accept if you want. If you don't, you can reject it. I'm not teaching you anything about legal matters. This is just for educational purposes only. I'm not suggesting that anyone do any of this. I'm just educating my fellow brothers and sisters. So we had exposed the fraud of the Sister K Trust, which actually exists only on presumption. So the Sister K Trust has no corpus. It has no property. It has no value. The trust is actually created upon the conveyance of property. And it could actually only exist as long as the value in the trust. If there's no value in the trust is dissolved. But no value is left in the Sister K Trust. Yet they continue to charge the trust. It's fraud, folks. Know what I told you, John Bowen? That's fraud. Modern men and women have deemed to be incompetent, dead, abandoned by law, bankrupt, a minor. And minors have nothing to do with numbers. It's a social political standing. It's an illusion, folks. So if we claim our body, then we collapse the presumption that the trust has value. So they're operating in fraud now. Something we've always known, many of us, but now we know how they've done it, and it's exposed. And they have three options. It gives them three options. Number one, they can absorb the Sister K Trust, the one for which the court clerk, or the clerk of the court is trustee, from which he or she actually created a constructed trust. So the case which he or she appointed to the role, and the prosecutor, which actually holds temporary liability as a trustee and executor, and respectively, but they cannot absorb the entire Sister K Trust, or the entire global system would collapse, because they cannot exist without our energy, which actually they obtain via the Sister K Trust. Do you understand? Number two, they can actually enforce the existing rules of the trust law, which means as a trustee, they can actually set off their own debt and leave us alone. So now that they know we're actually on to the fraud, and every time that they go into court to administer their trust account, if they know that the person before them or the man before them or the creditor standing before them could actually send him or her to jail, then it's likely that this type of behavior would cease, right? Which the robe is the liable party who would actually go to jail, and the executor, which is the prosecutor, is the one who enforces this. So this is why you want to take both titles, because then if we do, they don't go to jail, we go to jail. That's why they want us to take both titles, trustee and executor. Because what happens then? We go to jail. They don't. Why? Because by signing their papers, we become executors, and we literally enforce our own sentences. Do you understand? This is serious, folks. But this is just entertainment. Right? It's just education. It's not legal advice. And number 3, they can claim they actually dismissed the case before they even take the risk of exposing the fraud. And this is why many cases somehow miraculously are dismissed when you stand on your square, which makes sense in this particular case, right? Because all of this comes to a halt. So what does the clerk of the court do? The clerk court do? It's out of there. And so pretty soon, these type of thugs, if people continue to educate themselves and learn and not be intimidated, these type of thugs will go away. And perhaps people will be able to live freely again. But you got to go in totally undaunted. People are getting ravaged with foreclosures. People, you got people protesting now because what just happened in Venezuela. People are in desperation for food, clothing, and shelter, having their homes taken, and you're doing this Venezuela thing. People are saying. You've seen the protesters. What do you guys think of that? If you think that what Trump ordered in Venezuela was right, type frame below. What? Type frame below. If you think it was wrong, type you disagree. But if you just acquiesce and remain silent, these things that's occurring, they're not going to go away on their own. To do nothing, you've already acted. You've acquiesced in your consent. And boy, I wouldn't want to be you, because things are going to get a lot worse for you. Things are going to get a lot worse. So what's going to happen with the Venezuela situation? Soon to see. Trump says the U.S. is running Venezuela now. What do you guys think of that? Is that lawful? Was the invasion lawful? The comments below. If you found value in this video, hey man, donate whatever you think the video's worth. If you're not Paramount Security Interest Holder Secure Creditor, click the link below. Become a secure creditor now. So Love World says, so will it take over? What do you let me drop the link real quick and see what people really think. Let me drop a link in the room. See what people have anything to say about this invasion. What do you guys think about it? Seriously. Here's a link right there. Someone want to come on and say something. What do you think about the U.S. invading, Delta Force going in, snatching out that president and his wife? Now, I've been in those situations. I've been in a situation exactly like that when I was in the military. What the mass media is showing you is not, definitely, it's far from the truth. But that's a whole nother story because of OPSEC. I can't speak on those things. Sworn to secrecy, Rob. But nevertheless, I tell you, what you see in the media is not the whole truth. It's not unadulterated. But people better, hey man, make some changes and do what you do. You might be in a flush toilet. You guys think things are getting better or worse? You decide. With that, no one came on. I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna say shalom, peace. Everybody be safe.